Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck here to share my video for this week, which I'm going to talk through the next stage in the B2B sports revenue framework, or actually the first stage, which is around creating awareness and demand within sports sales. It's a relevant topic because I was just at a B2B marketing conference this past week, and the big conversation was around how do you take sales and marketing and your entire go-to-market team and align on your strategies. And a big part of the top of the funnel is creating awareness demand for your product, but I'll put a sports sales spin on it. So what I'll talk through is why it's so important. I'll talk through where I see teams miss as it relates to creating awareness and demand, and then also where teams can improve in the long-term benefit of it. So the first place I'd start is I've shared this stat before, but this was something that came up a few times at the conference is 95% of your target market or target accounts are not in market to buy right now. So what that means is only 5% when you post a message or you're going out in market trying to get people to sell are actively looking for a solution like yours. Doesn't even mean yours, a solution like yours. So that means your competitors also. So you haven't even won that. So out of that 5%, it's not a guarantee that they're going to buy. So what you have to do is have tactics, deploy resources to that 95% of people who are not currently in market looking for your solution so that when they do move in market, they think of you. Because another stat that came up at the conference that I thought was great is when B2B buyers go to make a purchase or start researching a purchase, they have what they call a day one list. And on that day one list is usually like 2 to 3 vendors that they already had in the back of their head or top of mind before they started their outreach and research that they're considering for as a solution. So 90% are actually purchased from that day one list. So you want to be on that day one list. So if you're not in market for a solution or your prospect's not in market for a solution, you want to educate them. You want to provide value. You want to build brand affinity and recognition so that they move into the part where they are in market, they think of you on that day one list because there's a 90% likelihood that they'll pick you over someone else. So that's why it's so important. We can't just be so transactional of like, all right, sell, 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 and just talk to people that are already in market or already buying for us. We have to do things to create awareness around that. And sometimes a lot of people don't put the time and resources to it because sometimes it's difficult to evaluate and attribute like, was this successful or not? But if your numbers are and all your numbers are growing throughout the funnel, then that means you are doing a good job and you're allocating resources appropriately, typically at the top of the funnel, creating awareness and creating demand for your product. And why I say demand too, it's not just that people know who you are, that they want your solution or your product. So a lot of times people think this falls solely on the marketing team. So this is where I'd say sports teams go wrong, or just teams in general, organizations go wrong. It's not just on marketing, it's everyone is involved in this. So it's your marketing team, it's your sales team, it's your leadership team. But there are specific roles each team can play on how to create awareness and demand for your product. On the marketing side, taking content, creating thought leadership, going to networking events that make sense where your target market consumes content and building stories around that, but not just ticket related, but things that resonate with the business community. For your sales team, they could build a brand themselves on social media and tell stories of their clients and prospects that they're working with so that the other people who are seeing that who aren't in market yet, again, that's who we're talking to, who aren't in market yet are seeing this and they're, just leaving these little nuggets so that when they do move in market, they think about you and they think about your product. So you could do stuff that educates them. You could go out to events with your marketing team and find ways to educate and everything like that and build a network outside of just doing outbound outreach and sales efforts. And then your leadership team, I think that's one that's a big miss and a big opportunity within sports. Those executives are in the business community, whether they try to or not, because you're going to chamber events, you're networking with other business professionals, you're involved in like big sponsorship partnership deals. Like there's a lot of resources that they can share. And it's interesting, anytime we had an event where an executive is speaking, just because they were an executive in sports, we had a huge show rate. So people want to hear from people behind the scenes. People like sports. People love knowing about what's going on with the sports team and organization. There's a big opportunity for leaders to tell that story where people consume content, where typically that's on LinkedIn, but that could be out at events and things like that too. So making sure that you're building the brand and you're sharing things that are of value and educating that community so that they think of you. It doesn't mean they're going to buy right away. We don't want to be too transactional. We want to think long term with it and build a genuine organic relationship, but create awareness at the top of the funnel. So where also teams go wrong, I touched on this a little bit. They kind of take a B2C approach towards B2B. And what I mean by that is B2C, there's implied interest. They've come to games, they purchase tickets. Typically, you're not just randomly calling people out of the white pages, if that's even a thing anymore. You're hitting people that have touched your product and everything like that. So with them, you can be a little more transactional, a little more targeted. They don't need the fluff like, all right, here's the tickets, here's the package, here's the benefits, buy now. It doesn't work B2B because we don't know necessarily that they bought before. If you have a list of previous B2B buyers, then yes, you can be a little more targeted there. But when we just go out to the business community, like on LinkedIn, and say, all right, our group tickets are on sale, our suites are on sale, call the team to buy now. If you haven't done all those things on the front end to create awareness and demand for your product and tell the story, you're going to get a very select few people that actually buy. And so I've done this myself. I've seen other teams do this and see little success. I'm like, oh, well, that channel doesn't work. It does work. You just have to use it for what it's worth. It's a networking tool. It's an opportunity for you to educate and share more about your business and company so that people think of you. They're not going on LinkedIn to buy. So taking a more thoughtful approach to it. And also, you have to grow your database. You have to grow potential targets and prospects that you're going to reach out to. If you rely solely on the people who already buy your ticket and you just keep drilling them with that same messaging over and over and over again, eventually they're going to tail off, and you didn't have new people that your new audience that you're creating and talking to. So, um, thinking from a more long-term relationship approach versus just transactional, I'm trying to get this person in to buy something now, like thinking more long-term with it. What we could do instead, what the best teams do, or what teams could be doing more, is really thinking about tickets more from how this can solve business outcomes, not talking to features and benefits. So, one thing I'm post about here coming up is when you do talk about a feature or benefit, it needs to tie to something that's of value to the prospect, value to the business. Not, we get these discounts, we get, ballpark credit, or we get concession credit, things like that. At the end of the day, we want to tie that back to something that's going to be impactful to the business. So, you can do that through LinkedIn. That's a great place to tell your story, to create good content, to build credibility, to build value. Make sure that it's not too transactional, just about tickets, but you're truly building a relationship and building an audience that is learning and being educated about the things that you offer and the outcomes that you can provide for others. Um, Another way you can do this is, if you decide to, let's say you've had success through your organic outreach and your organic channels, you're like, all right, we want to put dollars behind this. We want to do paid advertising. And I haven't seen many, if any, teams use LinkedIn ads. And if they have, they've done it in a very transactional way, just kind of more broad spray and pray approach, getting very targeted and specific that this is the persona. And I'm I'm not the one that knows LinkedIn ads. That's on my to-do list, is to learn that and something that we could potentially provide in the future. But I feel it's a big opportunity for sports teams to really tap into, like hone in on, here's the persona that we target, here are the companies we want to reach out to, and provide a relevant message to them based on what we're hearing from our current clients. So if you're talking to your current clients, you're talking to your businesses accounts and everything like that, then you're going to be able to provide messaging that's relevant to them. And those people are going to want to click on that and then learn more about what it is you have to offer. But if you take too much of an approach where it's more ticket based related and product related, I mean, unless they're already interested in the product, you're not speaking to them. So, talking about the challenges you help people overcome, talking about the successes that you've had for people, and sharing some of those stories, those testimonials, those case studies, like that's a good way to use your targeted advertising and paid advertising to get people just interested in having a meeting. We're not trying to convert and close right there. That's one of the biggest drawbacks I've seen, or the hesitation I've seen from teams, that relates to using LinkedIn as a channel, potentially be like, it costs too much. Well, if you look at it from a short term, I'm trying to close sales today. Yes, it does cost too much because you're not going to get conversions right away. But if you're getting more quality people through your funnel that are going to convert, for a much higher dollar amount in the long run, at the end of the day, it's going to be more impactful for them. And you're going to see the returns from that and see the ROI from it. The last thing I would say, is an opportunity where I think teams do it really well is when they align their entire go-to-market team. So not just sales and marketing, but that's a big function of it. When you're creating content from a marketing side that actually speaks to, some of the challenges and pain points that your current customers go through. So not operating in a silo and just running your own campaigns, but really thinking about, hey, let's bring the sales team in before we launch this campaign. One, so they know what's out in market and what's being talked about, but they can provide some context and some perspective. And that was one of the big tips that I heard at the conference this week is, everyone talking through and walking through the campaign and allowing sales to chime in and actually asking them to take ownership of this. That what's the messaging we should be going out with? What are the objections you hear on calls? On the sales side, inviting the marketing team into your calls so they know what the objections are that you're hearing, and it's not them just guessing, or whoever has the loudest voice in the room gets to win and picks like this is what we're going to go out to market with. It's actually stuff that's going to resonate and drive sales based on data, based on listening to conversations and being in tune with your customer so that you know what's going to resonate with other customers, potential customers out in market. So whether that's the content that you create, it's the collateral that you ask marketing to put together for you, really looking at it from that perspective. And the good thing I like about, breaking up all these different parts of the revenue framework is you can call out, we're doing this investment for this specific reason. We're doing this to create awareness, to create demand. We can measure it, based on how numbers are looking deeper down the funnel. And are we making an impact there? Are we getting more quality leads that convert more at a higher rate for a higher dollar amount that more renew with us longer? Like eventually you'll see those metrics start to play out over different quarters. But really the focus is how do we, with people that know about us, how do we get them in market for our product? And those people that don't know about us yet or don't think about us as a business solution, because most people know who sports teams are, how do we create awareness around that so that we move them into the pipeline, which is what I'll talk about next week in my video around how do we get people into the pipeline and eventually into sales, and then we renew them and everything like that. So as always, appreciate you tuning in. I know it's a little more strategic, a little more technical, but would love to get some of your feedback on the video. I'll be back next week as we talk through generating pipeline.